We think of disasters as events, flood, fire. And this is one of these really cool. So the progression of vulnerability, root causes, dynamic pressures, unsafe conditions, and the hazard over here, which of course climate change is changing some of these hazards, flood and fire for sure. But then there's a pressure model for the release model. This is like, how do you reduce pressure? And it's address root causes. And most of the root causes here: poverty, wealth imbalance, resources, ideology, militarism, they're the same as the things we're talking about for climate. And I think if you looked at development, even the SDGs, if they have, someone's probably done this for the SDGs too. They're not like specific, discrete things. There are some that are like that, like water filters to get cholera out, but that doesn't get to the source of the cholera. Anyway, this model, this idea of pressure what's building pressure and what's releasing pressure for those most at risk feels so applicable to how you describe the social components of both climate vulnerability and inertia around energy. I don't know if anyone has done something like this for sort of climate and the mitigation side of the energy policy question, but it would be interesting. Does this make sense, or is it kind of silly?
No, I think that without wading into what Working Group 2 is talking about, because we're not out in public yet, but I can talk about my own work. No, this is an active conversation. And actually, since the government approved outlines are sitting out there, it's fair to say that I'm a lead author of Chapter 18, which is titled Climate Resilient Development Pathways. And it's really starting to engage the issue. Actually, there's an interesting debate, Andy, floating around right now. So I work at the intersection of development and climate change. That's been my career. And there's a real question of what is the difference between adaptation work and just good development in the Anthropocene? And there's some questions there. I mean, I would argue they are not exactly the same thing, but they have a lot of things in common. And you're kind of the PAR model you have up here kind of shows how some of those things could be basically the same or very similar.